In the dark, narrow streets of 1930s Dusseldorf, fear had a name: Peter Kürten, a man whose insatiable thirst for blood and cruelty would forever stain German history. Born in Cologne on May 26, 1883, Kürten's childhood was a breeding ground for violence. His father, a sadistic alcoholic, ruled the household with an iron fist, instilling in young Peter a twisted understanding of power and pain. By the age of 5, he had already drowned 2 puppies, an early sign of the darkness lurking within him. By 9, he was stabbing animals, testing the limits of his own depravity. Though suspected in several unsolved murders during his youth, no evidence could pin him down. His descent into crime was inevitable. Arrested multiple times for theft, arson, and assault, Kürten's rap sheet grew longer by the year. In 1899, after a stint in prison, he entered a relationship with an older woman. Their encounters were tainted by his violent nature, a pattern that would repeat throughout his life. When their relationship ended, he robbed her home, a small act compared to the horrors he would later commit. Then, on May 25, 1913, Kürten crossed the threshold from petty criminal to ruthless killer. That night, he broke into an inn, searching for valuables. Instead, he found 9-year-old Christine Klein sleeping peacefully in her bed. Without hesitation, he slit her throat, leaving behind a blood-soaked handkerchief embroidered with his initials. The next morning, he returned to the scene of the crime, blending in with the horrified townspeople, savoring their terror like a fine wine. That was the moment he knew this wouldn't be his last kill. For the next 16 years, Kürten drifted in and out of prison, but his hunger for violence only grew stronger. When he was free, he inflicted pain upon anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path. Rape, assault, arson. His crimes were as varied as they were brutal. Then, in 1929, the true horror began. On February 3rd, under the cover of darkness, he ambushed a woman on the street, stabbing her repeatedly with a pair of scissors. Miraculously, she survived, the broken tip of the weapon lodged in her skull. 6 days later, he lured 9-year-old Rosa Ohlinger to a construction site where he stabbed her to death before attempting to burn her body, only to be interrupted before he could finish. 3 days later, he targeted a 54-year-old man, stabbing him viciously and attempting to drink his blood as it gushed from the wounds. His reign of terror escalated. On August 8, 1929, he charmed Maria Hahn into accompanying him on a countryside outing. Days later, they traveled together to the Neanderthal, enjoying a scenic hike and leisurely stops at inns. But on their way back, Kürten led her to a secluded field, whispering false promises. There, he overpowered her, strangled her, and drove a pair of scissors deep into her flesh. This time, he managed to drink her blood, but the satisfaction was short-lived. He vomited soon after. He abandoned her body in a ditch, returning later to bury it. In the weeks that followed, Dusseldorf was gripped by fear as he attacked victim after victim, wielding scissors, knives, and hammers with terrifying efficiency. 9 people lay dead in his wake. At least 31 more bore his scars, lucky to have survived encounters with the so-called vampire of Dusseldorf. But every monster meets his end. On May 24, 1930, Kürten made a fatal mistake. He confessed everything to his wife. Terrified, she went straight to the police, sealing his fate. His capture stunned the nation. In court, he showed no remorse. Instead, he reveled in his own wickedness. When asked if he regretted his actions, he simply smirked and said, "If I were to be released, I would do it all again." On July 2, 1931, Peter Kürten's dark reign ended beneath the blade of a guillotine in Cologne. Yet even in death, he remained a grotesque enigma, his legacy a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity. His crimes left scars not just on his victims, but on an entire nation, forever haunted by the monster who once lurked in the shadows of Dusseldorf.